Hi and welcome to my vlog on life as an empath-extrovert and highly sensitive person. There isn't any excuse I can give as to why I've been away for a month from my last video, breaking all the good little vlogger rules, as per they say on YouTube, except I just need a good kick up my bum. So if you like me, subscribe and comment that I need a good kick up my bum and that you want more content. Right. So today I'm going to talk about another fundamental misunderstanding of highly sensitive people. There's another one I'm going to talk about at the end, which is specific to extroverts. But I think introverts will also identify with this major one. So in my last vlog, I talked about the cultural backdrop of sensitive being seen as a negative in Western culture, predominantly UK, US, Europe, and it not being like that in Asian cultures. And so that you're left with this thing of you're flawed if you are sensitive and you cry a lot and you show emotion. Secondly, the other fundamental misunderstanding that I've personally come across in my life as someone who is also extroverted as well, which makes it sort of more obvious, is the varying emotion that you feel on a daily basis often leads people to think that you are attention seeking, dramatic, trying to manipulate people even. And it's simply not true. It's a fundamental misunderstanding, especially with an empath-extrovert, that because you are crying 1 minute and then the next minute you are happy, that you have been like that purely to manipulate a situation and get a response from someone because now you're fine. It's like, well, how can that have been genuine, they think, because now she's fine. And it's specifically because what happens is the person in general that's thinking that is basing it on their own experience. Now, like we know, any bloody problem in the world could probably be solved by the compassionate act of putting yourself in the other person's shoes and imagining living your life as that person without judgment. Whether it's about neurodiversity, people's brains and emotions working differently, whether it's one of the bigger issues, race, ageism, sexism, all of it comes from not putting yourself in that person's shoes and understanding that the cultural backdrop they've had, their experience, is not your own. And obviously 70% of the population are not highly sensitive. So they will look at you crying one moment and that will be labelled dramatic, purely because the switch and the speed of that switch to being maybe calm and onto something else is impossible to them in their heads. If they cried about something, it might be rare that that person cries, and it might stay with them for days. Like when, if me and my boyfriend have a bit of a tiff, it's like I will move on to the next thing very quickly, whereas it will stay with him quite a while. And I think his way, the latter way, is actually quite usual. Whereas me, I'm already on to the next thing. I flip very quickly onto something else, not because I didn't care about that or because I'm tougher, but because my mind, the amount of thoughts that go through my mind on a daily, any given day, any given second, and the amount of emotions that are hitting me from inside, external sources, internal triggers, are so great and so varied that my brain, my being, everything is already on to the next thing. And quite naturally, when people have that experience, I do understand compassionately why people think that you're being manipulative or you're doing it for attention. I mean, the amount of times in my life I've been called dramatic, which, you know, I became an actor. I'm a jobbing actor, telly actor and stuff like that. I mean, it's not a label that I get that upset by because of that. But I should imagine that people who are not, especially if you are more towards the introverted side of being a highly sensitive person, do get offended by that and do feel really bloody misunderstood. There we go again. Sorry, Mum. £1 in the swear jar. Sorry. So what did I say here? So it literally just comes down to, what can you do about this? I think it's just when that happens and when people say that to you, having that understanding that what they're not doing is putting themselves into your body and your emotions. They cannot judge you by their own neural experience. Is that a word? Oh God. They cannot judge you by their own brain and their own emotions because they're simply not inside your body, your head, your emotions. And if you remember that, it helps. You can kind of then become compassionate for them and go, well, if they were to get like I am right now, you know, and then flip to this really so quickly, they would be being manipulative, they would be being dramatic. And so I tried, that's something you can always remember to help you when that sort of is thrown at you, those labels. And the other thing is to actually just educate. This is why I set this up, is to try and educate myself, people out there about actually, you know, I just want all of these myths to be busted. And, you know, like I say, if one person hears this and goes, oh, my friend Sally or whoever, maybe she's not, maybe she's actually going through all this when she gets like this, and then flips onto something else. You know what I mean? That's just, it's educating people and actually maybe taking your loved ones aside or your employer. I actually, in my last job, and a lovely little part-time job at a marketing company in Waterloo, I actually took my boss aside and said, look, this is who I am, this is what I experience, this is what happened, specifically PMT time, it gets 10 times worse. Can you support me in this way? And because they were such a lovely, amazing company, bigging up the marketing store, she did take that on board and was able to apply that to situations that I was in. So I would recommend talking to, if you've got a really understanding employer, talk to them, talk to colleagues, talk to friends, just say, you know, when this happens to me, this is my experience of it. You know, it's not that I'm being attention seeking, dramatic, manipulative, any of those things. The other thing that I think people experience, specifically as an extroverted HSP as well, an empath, is not being what it says on the tin. So, you know, I found this a lot with dating. I want to do a whole other vlog on that. I mean, I should actually really do an entire bloody vlog on that because the state of dating is absolutely terrible. Because it's all based on inauthenticity, right? You go out there, the whole of the dating life is based on, don't text them back for a few days, do this, don't look like that, don't be too keen, don't be too that. It basically teaches you to not be yourself. And then what you want end of it, for most people, is a loving, trusting relationship that's built on authenticity, when the entire dating paradigm that we have is based on inauthenticity. Go figure. We wonder why people are struggling. Never mind, tangent. Is that you're not what you say on the tin. I've heard people say, you're not what I thought you were. So like, you'll come across, specifically as an extrovert empath, as someone who's very confident, very dynamic, very rah in your face, I can do anything, rah. And then when they get to know you better and they see the tactility, they see the almost, well, I'd call it really neediness in myself, affection, needing to be touched, needing to be loved, needing to babe, how are you? When they see that side of you, when they see the sensitivity, they're like, whoa, this isn't what I signed up for. Oh my God, where did this come from? I thought you were like, feisty and that. And this element of not being what it says on the tin, I think is a problem specifically for extrovert empaths, where it's like, well, who am I? What are you? What are you trying to sell me? And that's something that I've struggled with. And the only thing that I have come to terms with to deal with that is literally, I know it's a cliche, and Lorelei, if you're watching, I know you're going to kill me, but the old self-love again, the old going, this is what I'm like. If I can't find the right person, if people don't like me, if people don't get me, bugger to you, because that's who I am. And, you know, being an extrovert empath has so many positive qualities. And if you don't get me, you don't get me. This is an 8:46 now, and I had a whole other point I wanted to talk about, but I just gasped for too much, right? So tune in next week and I'll talk through the other fundamental misunderstanding about highly sensitive people and empaths. Thanks, goodbye.